Look, here's a painful truth I see crushing people's wealth every single day. You've been told your whole life that saving money is smart. You've diligently squirreled away a nice little nest egg in your checking account, maybe a high-yield savings account if you're feeling ambitious. You look at that growing balance and think, I'm being responsible, I'm building wealth. Here's the thing, that feeling of security, it's an illusion, because for most of you, your safe savings are actually costing you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars every single year in lost opportunity. You're holding on to cash like it's a precious artifact, while inflation and lost returns are quietly picking your pocket. You're confusing stagnation with security. That's just the first betrayal. Today, we're tearing down 3 massive counterintuitive investment and wealth-building myths. The velocity of money. Myth, why your stagnant savings are actually slowing your wealth, not protecting it. The 3-bucket strategy, a simple, powerful retirement plan rich people use but rarely talk about. The anti-portfolio, 3 safe things everyone is buying that I'm betting against, and how to profit from them. My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money actually moves through your life and why most people miss the greatest opportunities. If you're someone who feels like you're doing all the right things, saving, investing, but your wealth just isn't growing as fast as you think it should, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Let's go. Part 2, the velocity of money. Myth, why saving is slowing your wealth. You probably heard the phrase velocity of money in an economics class. It basically describes how quickly money changes hands in an economy. High velocity means a booming economy. Low velocity means stagnation. Here's what most people don't realize. This concept applies directly to your personal wealth. Most people have a stagnant personal velocity of money. Their money sits inert in low-interest accounts, and it's costing them a fortune. The psychology, the illusion of safety. The drive to hoard cash comes from a primal fear, insecurity. We believe that a large cash balance makes us safe. It provides a comfortable buffer against the unknown. But that safety is an illusion. It's like putting a highly perishable food item in a drawer instead of a refrigerator. It feels safe, but it's actually decaying. The math, the cost of stagnant cash. Let's look at the brutal math. Inflation in the U.S. has averaged around 3% per year over the long term. If your money is sitting in a checking account, earning 0.01%, or even a high-yield savings account earning 1%, you are losing 2% to 3% of its purchasing power every single year. Let's assume you have $50,000 in safe cash. After 10 years, with 3% inflation, that $50,000 will only have the purchasing power of $37,200. You lost $12,800 without spending a dime. Now, what if that $50,000 was invested in a broad market index fund, which historically returns 10% per year on average? After 10 years, that $50,000 could be worth $129,687. The difference between stagnant cash and invested cash over 10 years is nearly $90,000 in lost opportunity. Storytelling. Analogy. Think of your cash like a powerful car engine. Most people leave it idling in the driveway, burning fuel, inflation, and getting nowhere. Wealthy people drive that car, putting miles investments on it, going places. The problem with emergency funds. Now you might be thinking, but John, What about my emergency fund? I need 3 to 6 months of expenses. Absolutely. An emergency fund is critical, but it should be a surgical tool, not a blanket strategy for all your cash. Don't oversave. If your monthly expenses are $4,000, a 6-month emergency fund is $24,000. Any dollar above that sitting in cash is a dollar actively being eroded. Segment your cash. Beyond the true emergency fund, any saving should be for a specific near-term goal, e.g., a down payment in the next 1 to 2 years. Anything beyond that time frame needs to be invested. Actionable step: the cash flow accelerator. You need to analyze your cash like a business owner. Define your emergency fund. Calculate 3 to 6 months of actual expenses, not income. This is your red line. Identify stagnant zones. Any cash above that red line without a specific short term, under 2 years, purpose. Automate acceleration. Set up automatic transfers to move money from stagnant zones directly into a diversified investment portfolio. Increase your 401k, Roth IRA, or taxable brokerage contributions. Make your money move. Part 3. The 3-bucket strategy. A retirement plan. Rich people don't talk about okay. So now that we're accelerating your money, let's talk about where it should go, especially for retirement. Most people think of retirement planning as a single, monolithic pot of money. My 401k. That's a mistake. Rich people, the financially sophisticated, don't just have one retirement pot. They manage their retirement across 3 distinct buckets, each with a different purpose and tax strategy. This gives them flexibility and tax efficiency you won't get from a single account. The psychology, control, and flexibility. The single pot approach creates anxiety. You feel like you have to touch your retirement money for a big expense knowing it's going to be taxed and penalized. The 3-bucket strategy gives you control and peace of mind. You know exactly what money is for what purpose, reducing the psychological friction of accessing funds when needed, even before official retirement. The 3 buckets. Bucket 1, the liquidity bucket. Immediate needs, 0 to 5 years. Purpose. This is your true emergency fund plus any planned large expenses in the next 1 to 5 years, e.g., car down payment, home renovation, children's tuition. Assets. High-yield savings accounts, short-term CDs, money market funds, low risk, high accessibility. Why it's smart? You avoid having to sell long-term investments during a market downturn for short-term needs. This protects your growth. Bucket 2, the growth bucket. Long-term growth, 5 to 20 plus years. Purpose. This is your primary growth engine for long-term goals, including retirement. You want aggressive growth. Assets. Diversified low-cost index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, across U.S. and international stocks, possibly some real estate, moderate to high risk, high growth potential. Why it's smart. This is where you leverage the power of compounding. This money isn't touched for decades. This bucket might be housed in a taxable brokerage account, allowing for early access with capital gains taxes if a massive opportunity arises. Bucket 3, the tax-advantaged, irrevocable bucket. True retirement, 20 plus years. Purpose. This is your ultimate wealth fortress. Money here grows either tax-deferred or entirely tax-free, and ideally, it's protected from future creditors or even yourself. Assets. Roth 401k/Roth IRA. Grows and is withdrawn 100% tax-free in retirement. This is the holy grail of tax planning. Traditional 401k/IRA. tax-deferred growth, taxed on withdrawal. Useful for reducing current taxable income, especially for high earners. HSA, Health Savings Account. The triple tax advantage, tax-deductible contributions, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses. This is an underutilized retirement account. Irrevocable trusts. For the truly wealthy, assets placed here are protected, not counted towards estate taxes, and bypass probate. Why it's smart? This bucket provides incredible tax flexibility and security in retirement. You can strategically withdraw from Roth, tax-free, or traditional taxable accounts to manage your income and stay in lower tax brackets year after year. Actionable step, the portfolio reallocation audit. You need to audit your current accounts and reallocate. Map your existing accounts. Write down every investment account you have. Assign to a bucket. Decide which bucket each account should belong to based on its purpose and tax status. Optimize contributions. Direct new contributions strategically. Maximize your Roth contributions first, Roth IRA, Roth 401k, to build that tax-free wealth fortress. Then fill traditional 401k up to match, then HSA, then taxable brokerage. Part 4. The anti-portfolio. 3 things everyone buys that I'm shorting now that your money is moving and you're building a diversified multi-bucket retirement plan. It's time for the controversial part. There are certain safe investments or assets that everyone seems to flock to. They feel comfortable, familiar, but for me, these are part of the anti-portfolio. Things I believe are either vastly overhyped, actively declining, or are simply terrible long-term wealth generators. This isn't just about avoiding them, it's about understanding why they fail, so you can apply that critical thinking to everything else. The psychology, the comfort of conformity. Why do people flock to these assets? Conformity and confirmation bias. Everyone else is buying them, so they must be good. Financial influencers push them. Your parents owned them. It feels safe to follow the herd. But wealth is rarely built by following the herd. It's built by identifying contrarian opportunities. The anti-portfolio. 1. Brand new cars, especially leases. Why I'm shorting them. A brand new car loses 10 to 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. Over 5 years, it can lose 50% or more. The math. A $30,000 car financed at 6% over 5 years costs you about $570 a month. You'll pay $34,000 for something that's only worth $10,000 to $15,000 at the end. That's a $19,000 to $24,000 wealth transfer directly out of your pocket. Leases are even worse, guaranteeing you always pay the maximum depreciation without ever owning the asset. What to do instead? Buy a 3 to 5 year old used car. It's still reliable, but the worst of the depreciation has already happened. That difference, the $19,000 you saved, invested over 30 years at 10%, could turn into over $330,000. 2. Whole life insurance as an investment. Why I'm shorting it. Whole life is sold as an investment and retirement plan with guaranteed returns. Here's the truth. It's a high commission product that severely underperforms market returns. The fees are enormous, opaque, and eaten to your cash value for decades. The math. If you invest $500 a month into whole life, after 10 years, your cash value might be $40,000, while you paid in $60,000. If you invested that same $500 a month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, you'd likely have over $100,000. What to do instead? Buy cheap, pure term life insurance for protection. If you have dependents, invest the difference in a diversified low-cost index fund. Separate insurance from investing. 3. Actively managed mutual funds with high fees. Why I'm shorting them. The vast majority of actively managed mutual funds fail to beat their benchmark, e.g., the S&P 500, over the long term. Many charge 1 to 2% in annual fees. Expense ratios. The math. As we discussed with the default trap, a 1% difference in fees can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades. That 1% might not sound like much, but it's 1% of your entire portfolio, compounded annually. What to do instead? Stick to low-cost, diversified index funds or ETFs, expense ratios under 0.2%. They consistently outperform their actively managed counterparts because they eliminate the fees and the risk of human error. Actionable step: the portfolio declutter. Go through your garage, your insurance policies, and your investment statements. Analyze your rides. Are you driving a depreciating asset that is robbing your future? Audit your insurance. Do you have whole life when cheap term would suffice? Check your fees. What are the expense ratios on all your mutual funds? Stop buying the things that make you feel good but actually make you poorer. Part 5. Conclusion and motivation. So what did we learn today? We learned that wealth isn't built by doing what feels safe or what everyone else is doing. It's built by understanding the hidden forces, the psychology, the math, and the societal pressures that quietly sabotage your growth. You beat stagnation by accelerating your velocity of money. You beat single-point failure by building a 3-bucket retirement strategy. You beat conformity by avoiding the anti-portfolio. This isn't about being reckless. It's about being calculated. It's about understanding that every dollar has a job, and if it's not working for you, it's actively working against you. This isn't about sacrificing everything. It's about making smarter, more intentional choices that give you more freedom, more security, and ultimately, more wealth. If you like this breakdown of the invisible traps holding back your wealth, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments below. What's one thing in your anti-portfolio that you're going to get rid of today? Your answer might help someone else. If you want the next step, how to build a perfectly diversified, low-cost portfolio that maximizes your velocity of money, watch this video right here on the Ultimate Lazy Investor Portfolio. All right, we've talked about where not to put your money, the anti-portfolio. Now let's talk about where most people do put their money and why it's a massive self-inflicted risk. This is the trap of the availability heuristic. The availability heuristic is a psychological shortcut. Our brains assume that things that are easily recalled or widely publicized are more common or more likely to occur. In finance, this translates to, we only invest in companies we see, use, or hear about every day. The psychology. Comfort versus diversification. You love your iPhone, so you buy Apple stock. You binge watch Netflix, so you buy Netflix stock. You get your coffee at Starbucks, so you load up on SBUX. This feels safe. I understand the product, you tell yourself. The problem? You're building an entire portfolio based on your consumption habits, not based on sound financial diversification or future growth potential. Risk concentration. By investing only in the massive visible tech giants and consumer staples, you are heavily concentrating your risk. If a single sector, say consumer tech, hits a downturn, your entire portfolio tanks alongside your career, since you probably work in a similar field, and your personal spending power. The invisible opportunity. Meanwhile, you are completely ignoring the boring companies that make up the backbone of the economy, the firms that own the real estate behind the cell towers, the companies that make the micro components for your car's airbags, the huge utilities and infrastructure funds that pay quiet, reliable dividends. These are the stocks that provide true diversification and steady growth, but you don't buy them because they don't give you that dopamine hit of owning a piece of my favorite brand. The home bias killer. Nick, this is compounded by home bias, the irrational tendency to invest primarily in your own country's stocks. When you only buy U.S. tech, you ignore the entire growth trajectory of emerging markets, European luxury goods, or Asian manufacturing innovation. Shocking statistic. U.S. equities make up about 42% of the global stock market capitalization. If your portfolio is 100% U.S. stocks, you are actively choosing to ignore 58% of the world's investment opportunity. That's not smart investing, that's emotional blindness. Actionable step. The Global 3-Fund Diversification. Nick, to beat this bias, you must enforce true global diversification. U.S. Total Stock Market Index covers your known market, but broadly. International Total Stock Market Index covers that critical 58% you're missing. Total Bond Market Index acts as the ballast during equity downturns. This simple, boring portfolio ensures you participate in every major growth story globally, without having to emotionally bet on whether the next generation prefers Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Part 6. The Tax Loss Harvesting. Secret. Profiting from your failures. All right, we're building wealth. We're diversifying globally. But what happens when you follow all my advice and one of your investments still goes down? Most people do one of two things. They either cling to the losing stock, sunk cost fallacy, or they sell it, take the loss, and feel like a failure. Rich people, the ones with top-tier financial advisors, do something brilliant and totally legal with their losing investments. Tax loss harvesting. They turn failure into cash. The math, making money from losing money. This tactic only works in your taxable brokerage account, bucket 2, not your 401k or IRA. Here's the idea. When you sell an investment for a loss, that loss can be used to offset the capital gains you realized from selling a winning investment. Example, you sold stock A this year for a $5,000 gain. You pay taxes on this. You also own stock B, an index fund maybe, that is currently down $5,000 from when you bought it. If you do nothing, you pay taxes on the $5,000 gain from stock A. If you perform tax loss harvesting, you sell stock B, realizing the $5,000 loss. The $5,000 loss offsets the $5,000 gain. Net capital gains, $0. You pay no tax on stock A's profit. The ultimate lever. But here's the most powerful part. If your realized losses are greater than your realized gains, you can use up to $3,000 of that net loss to offset your ordinary income, your salary, every single year. If you are in the 24% tax bracket, offsetting $3,000 of your salary means you save $720 cash on your tax bill, and any excess loss over the $3,000 annual limit can be carried forward indefinitely to offset future gains. The key rule, the wash sale. Now, you might be thinking, John, I'll sell stock B for the loss and then buy it right back. Look, you can't. The IRS has the wash sale rule. You cannot buy a substantially identical security within 30 days before or after realizing the loss. This is the ultimate legal cheat code.